We welcome you, all the Mishpocha, and all the Goyim, the sojourners that are trying to come back to the house of Yisrael. We welcome the Goy that are trying to be grafted into the house of Israel, into the stump and the lump, and being part of the whole house of Yaakov, of Yisrael. I thank you for tuning in on YouTube, Eliyahu channel, and also Eagles Haven 1 YouTube, as well as Ustream Live. If you're watching this message by DVD, or listening by CD, or by watching by stream, we welcome you this Shabbat live. Amen and amen and amen. Go with me now in the book of Galut, or they call it Galatians, or Galatium. And we're going to go ahead and go there and take a peek and a look in chapter 1. And I'm going to share and expose some things. First of all, Galatians, Galatium. First of all, you must understand what this word is. This word is Galu. Galu are the ones of the Exporia, the ones that were gaffeled up in the year, they said in the 3rd century BCE. They were gaffeled up by what they call the assimilation of the Greeks. Before the Roman conquest, there was the Greek conquest. A lot of people don't know that history. And they call them the Galut. The Greeks would call them Galus, which as the Romans called them, as Israelites living in the area, relocated and assimilated. It's similar what they did to the Native Americans in the United States with what they call democracy. Before 1905, it was called another term of assimilation of Native Americans and relocating them, stealing their language, stealing their creator, the creator and the Ruha, the great Ruha that they believed in, and changing their clothing and rewriting their history, and saying that many of the Native Americans didn't even know how to read and write. But they're finding historically that a lot of the tribes did have document writing and phonetic sounds and alphabets. And under maritime laws, they got to wipe that history out because it's incriminating to them. But in the same way, that's what the Greeks did. They went to Israel, they besieged it, they gobbled up tribes of Israel, and they relocated. Where did they relocate them? They relocated them more than what they call the 7 churches of Ephesus. That is a wrong vision, image. It was actually the 7 synagogues of Asia Minor, or Ephesus. And each location had several other synagogues building up, but they had the main head superintendent synagogue, which we call assembly, and the clean word in Greek is ekklesia, and it's the called out ones, or the watchmen of the word, and it's also used as synagogue. So in this time of Galatians was written in Hebrew for the purpose. It has the Hebrew, Aramaic Hebrew, and it has Greek and some Roman words. And of course, we think we speak English. We're speaking German. We're not speaking English. Nobody speaks English since 1050. Okay, the year 1050 of the conquest of the norms in the United Kingdom, they call it today. So, if you need all that stuff I'm telling you fast, bear with me. You might have to play it back. So the Galati, or the Galatas, the ones, the called out ones of Yah in the province, included towns of Antioch, Iconium, Lystria, and Debris. These particular towns are in the province of Galatians, or Galatium, or Galuts. They were assimilated. Every one of these 7 synagogue congregations, 7 churches, they say, they had principality powers ruling in the corner of their city. Similar to us today, which is quite not visible no more. Before freeways, you could see it better. When you enter a city, and they would have a particular column and pillar, welcome to this county, and you'll see Mason symbols on plaques, or obelisks of sun pillars. Garden grove. Grove is a pagan word. It's actually, look it online, grove is Asherah. There's a place of worship. It's a place of deities. Wherever you see the word grove, most likely those cities have Mason secret locations where they do their grove worship of immoral activity for the secret societies. So Garden Grove is in your face that they're Garden Grove. So, and they would have these pillars of entering these cities, and they were strongholds. So what the Greeks did, they took several of the tribes of Israel, and they scattered them and splattered them, assimilated them, stole their language by law. Look what they did to the Aztecs and the Mayans, the Spaniards. They would burn their tongue with sticks of fire, not to speak their native tongue, to assimilate what they call today the Mexican language, why they spoke Castilian Spanish and a higher class Spanish that they only could communicate, and then they gave them the Ish language, Ishes, Spanish, Irish, English, all the Ishes, the lower class languages. Okay, so in the same way, they assimilated them, but after years went by, 100-something years went by, they started to speak their own language. They started opening synagogues, but that's where we get the Hellenic Greek and the original Septuagint. The reason the first covenant, the Tanakh, was written in Septuagint is for the lost house of Israel that was scattered in the 7 regions of synagogues. Okay? The word churchy is a splattered pagan Greek word on top of a clean word in original Greek, Galatia, in order to hide the understanding, to separate the understanding of this assimilation. They do it today in the United States. They hide what they forcefully assimilated the Native Americans to be scattered, even the tears of trails, that's another history, another sermon. So we're going to go ahead and with that understanding, I gave you a fast course of a 2-hour history class, should be with pictures and everything. Let's start off in Galatians chapter 1, and we're going to read in verse 1. I got the famous King Imus right here on my right, and I got Aramaic translation, Hebrew, English, similar to the follow-up of King Imus. I do not call his name James because there was no letter J's in 1600. They didn't change Imus's name to a J to James till the 1700s. So way after he died, and they brought the morphine of the letter, J letter, that was Latin into the Germanic tongue. Okay? So now, to understand what we're about to read, you're going to go through some shock waves. What you're about to hear, when you're about to hear today, if you have ears to hear and eyes to see, a veil's going to come off, and scale's going to come off, and you're going to see, oh, that's why that happened. From now on, once you see it, you're going to be totally understanding of the scenario of this Illuminati or the Luciferic age of bringing in what we have today. In Christianity, they teach kingdom principles. I do not teach kingdom principles. I teach sovereign principles according to the Torah, the Torah. Now, say this with me, Torah, Torah. We're not going to say Torah. I know I did some word studies and I found out I was not taking the open and closed consonant in Hebrew, and the the little phonetic divider sound was supposed to be between the O and the R, so it's Torah in Hebrew in the proper pronunciation. So, now, as we begin to read this is the image they gave us to put a fear tactic that people will not go astray or go into truth even as a truth seeker and make people think that if they're going to go and search for truth, that they're going to find themselves in a cult and a sect. The word sect's not a bad word. It's actually, when you look at the dictionary, it's just another school of thought, of belief in the same group line. Now, the things I'm going to share with you, I come to you as a witness. I come to you as an eyewitness. I lived in Jerusalem, and I'm fixing to go back and do some more work there. But I walked among them. I lived among them. I ate among them. I moved around and explored the different tribal connections and the different belief systems, not just the Orthodox that dress white and black, gold and white, or the gray and white, and all the other different type of sects of beliefs of the particular Hebraic understanding of today. But what we're about to read, it's going to open your eyes of the stigma that the Catholic Church have done in order to blind us, to make us think that if we change this or that, we're going astray. So let's go ahead and read it. But I'm going to correct some words, okay, to give you a better understanding. I can read King Imus or either one, but I'm going to go ahead and start off with Shaul, verse 1. An emissary or shiliach, ambassador, not from men nor by man, but by Yahuwah Mashiach and Elohim, the Father of Abba, who raised him from the dead. And all the brothers who are with me, to to the assemblies of Galatia, or synagogues. These are synagogues that have been converted to the Mashiach. Okay? Verse 3. Favor, not grace, because that's a pagan Greek goddess on top of a clean word, tabuta, or a clean word. It should be unconditional favor. To you, and shalom from Elohim, the Father, and our Yahushua Mashiach, who gave himself for our sins to deliver us out of the present wicked age. The word age can be put world or age, the system of things. According to the desire of our Elohim and Father, to whom be praise forever and ever. Amen. Amen. Verse 6. I marvel that you are so readily turning away from him who called you into the favor of Mashiach to a different good news. Now, they use the word gospel. They use the word gospel, and we're about to explore how in replacement theology, they plastered a German word with a whole different meaning to point into another direction. How many of you know? I had to get domain names for HaRuachEliyahu channel, Eliyahu channel, Eagles Haven Ministry. I had to get all caps, large, low, whatever. .net, .org, .com. In order for people to go online, they can mess up and still get to my address. So I created all the roads to come in. But if you do not do this, what happens is you just put one letter wrong or one letter with a cap, and what happens? You go to a different address. It's like the rudder of a ship. You're a half degree, a micro degree, or a degree off. You're going to end up in another part of the world, somewhere else, or lost in sea. This is what they did in what we call replacement theology. Okay? And it goes on, it says, a different good news, not gospel. And we're going to explain it. Which is not another. Only there are some who are troubling you and wishing to pervert they say gospel of the Christi. You see, if you put Christ and you put gospel, it diverts the whole attention to a different image. I call it the image of the beast or the image of the system. But if you correct the words in the proper Hellenic Greek, it's supposed to be good news of Mashiach. And we're going to learn what's under that clean word, that what's under the word. The Greek word eugelion is a wonderful clean Greek Hellenic word. It is not gospel, the German word. Verse 8. However, if we or a messenger out of Shamayim bring a gospel or good news or good tidings. In the first covenant was good tidings and good news. To you, besides what we announced to you, let him be a curse. As we have said before, and now I say again, if anyone brings good news, a different good news to you besides what you have received, let him be a curse. For do I now persuade men or Elohim, or do I seek to please men? For if I still please men, I should not be a servant of Mashiach. And I make known to you, brothers and sisters, that the good news, the good tidings, or Besorah, or Bazar, and now in Hebrew, announced by me, is not according to men. So it's not a man thing. Man has put some pancake words, plastered and rewrote on top, and in order to divert the direction of the true congregation, synagogue, Galatia. Verse 12. And I did not receive it from men, nor was I taught it, but through a revelation of Yahushua Mashiach. Keep reading all of 1, if you want, and do homework, 1 and 2, and you find out that the messenger, Shaul, was visited by the Messiah for over 2 to 3 years in a certain location where he was hiding and relearning like I did. When I come to the revelation understanding, and I looked at my Hebrew roots growing up in a Jewish community, my ancestors are Israelites, and I didn't want to be a part of the Judah type of community of wearing white and black and Talmud Orthodox. The synagogue that opened in Boyle Heights where I grew up was called the First Talmudic Temple of Los Angeles. So it shows you how it was Babylon Talmud right there in our face telling you what they were teaching. So Actually, that place was torn down in 72, and all records are in Baruch Hashem Temple, I think, on Wilshire. So now, we're now going to hold on to that mindset of while they change the words, and we're going to now go to, I'm going to read to you some information. The word gospel is German. It started in the year 1000 AD. Originally, I'm going to show you, originally it was Gott, G-O-T-T, in German, and G-O-D-D in Anglo-Saxon, which they call Angleland, divided by mountains. And it was the deity Good or Gut. Now, it is not a title. It's not like Theos. Theos is a Greek word. You could say Theos or Theos Diana. You could say Theos Thor. You could say Theos Zeus. You can say all those pagan deities and use the point of direction to the deity's name with Theos. But Dios in Spanish has a relation, which I'm going to show you later on when I re-edit it, but in the audience here are going to see it on the screen behind me, that Dios is related because of Latin to the good or the gut or the good, G-A-O-U-D, in the Germanic tongue, and all dealing with the United Kingdom. What people don't understand when you look at a map of the United Kingdom, it is not England. We don't speak English. England is basically this. You got Angleland, Britland, Irishland, Eichland, you got Scotland. These were sons of ancestors of Noah after the flood that migrated, and that was their land. That was their territory. Now the island, the people nickname it England. Well, because it was the land of the god of Ing. A deity, Ing, I-N-G, and eventually E-N-G. It's a deity. We even found manuscripts how to cast demons out of people that have been to the temple in England of the deity Ing and worship Ing, which is related to the Lucifer in the type of European, British, Germanic type of tongue. So the real tongue of mixture we speak in the original language was Runic, Father Fulang, and all you have to do is go on any kind of web search and pull up the original alphabet in the English language, and then you'll see blue letters, Fulang and Runic, and it'll take you in a big long history how the Norms conquered the island and gave everybody the Latin letter to assimilate them. And if they won't assimilate them, they forced them to speak their language so they to be the conqueror, who's in charge is living large, basically, and controlling the language. So when you say England, you're saying the land of the god of Ing, a deity. Okay? And really, when you look at the map, and even the Britons, because my ancestors came through Spain and ended up in Angleland and fought with the Anglo-Saxons against the Catholics for 200 years, and they called them Shildas, white shields. Of course, my bad cousin is Rothschilds, meaning red shield. He's the side of the Germanic and all the wickedness. And the Childas is the Chidlers, or the Childs family is the white shield. That's what it's called. It means shield, a white shield of armor. And they were using the Jewish families as little shields while they were spearing the Norms and the Britons, and they would use them as shields to protect them. They allowed them to practice their Hebraic, Israelite, Jewish belief systems, because the way the Anglo-Saxons believed, the more deities they had and more people praying to different deities, the more power they had to fight their enemy. They didn't try to convert you in their belief system. They said, you keep your deity because the more we have with us, the better. That's what they believe. It's kind of strange today to hear it, but that's a true fact of history. So the original language in German was G-O-T-T, and it's a prosperity deity. And in the Anglo-Saxon language, or in Angleland, it was G-O-D-D. In the original transcripts in the German language, when they started to introduce the Geschwill, they were introducing the Gutspiel, the spell of the sun deity of prosperity. It's a money thing. They put it on the dollar bill, in the deity we trust, and it says good. It's a German deity. It's a prosperity. It's dealing with making money and wealth. Like Nike is a spirit on Victoria or Gloria that she throws off this little angelic thing, and she has a feather, and she throws it, and she casts a spell for people to buy your products. Nike, letter for letter, is a demonic, a Greek-robed, a deity, woman, feminine sense, spirit to seduce people to buy your product. It is a seducing spirit. Letter for letter, word for word, historically, fact, you can search and find very easily. Matter of fact, they're proud to use that name in order to cast spells on people. Now, originally in the Hellenic, it's not gospel, or in English as we say good news, because good has a relation to good, but it's a cleaner word, a little bit cleaner in this Germanic Latin letter language we speak. But it's Greek number 2098, and it's euangelion. It's almost like angelic, a Latin word, but it's Greek. Euangelion, which actually means a good message, a good tidings, or good news. It's when they used to go to the court of the round area of the center of the city, and they hammer written information. Hooray, hooray, I got good news and bad news. Here's all the people sentenced to death, the bad news. Here's all the good news. We got more taxes, but you're going to get roads. You know, they always throw that in the Roman days. So this was the euangelion, the people that brought the particular message. It's the same word in relation to evangelist. Somebody that's preaching the good news. The Besorah, the bazaar in Hebrew is a little shorter pronunciation and phonetic sound in Hebrew for the person that's bringing it. And then Besorah is the message. Okay? So, with that understanding, underneath that pagan German word, Gespel, is a clean Hellenic Greek word, evangelion, meaning preacher of the good news. And that's what we are. It was clean in the beginning until the Germans got a hold of Martin Luther, and then Tyndale and Wycliffe, and then also the Erasmus, and then eventually it got crept in the King James version. And if you read your preface in your King James Bibles, you look up the original preface, you'll realize the King James Bible was basically to bring unity of the Catholic Church and the Reformationists to have almost similar the same book. Okay? So it's a Celtic, Teutonic, German word. It is not the original Greek. And you hear these Christians on the radio, and they preach, they throw these little Greek words. All they're doing is microwaving and mimicking cookie-dough message they heard from somebody else, and then they add a little bit more, and they throw a little bit Greek like they're really doing something. But in reality, if they really study the real Greek and the Hellenic with the place markers and all that, they would find out Yahuwah's in there. They find out Yahushua is in there. They find out Elohim is in there. They would find all these clean words in the original Greek that was originally meant for the Galuts, the Jewish people, the Israelites, that were Greek-speaking because of assimilation, and they're coming back home as Goyim. Not this Catholic word Gentile. That is a separation word. It's a picture of an image in a separated area. Underneath that pagan word, I call it a pagan word even though it's not a deity, under that disguised word Gentile is a clean Greek word understanding related to a Hebrew understanding of Goy, ethnic background, or Goyim, a sojourner. Everybody I see in here, I see sojourners. You wouldn't be in this room. You wouldn't be watching if you're not a sojourner. Because everybody here, except the First Nation people, they call Native Americans, everybody here came off a boat or walked on water. My parents came on a steamer. They helped parts sail a steamer. You know, the Childs family through New York and settled as farmers in New Mexico, and they call it Arizona today, but that was all part of New Mexico years ago. So we all came from sojourning from one place to another because of one reason or another, and there's going to be a great exodus out of the United States. The sojourning is going to continue because of what's happening in this country and all the wickedness, and people are going to sojourning out. There are people are sojourning out now. They're sojourning. They're searching. We have been sojourning, goyims, searching for the truth. Look at yourself for a minute. Think, how many denominations of Catholic parishes of the Reformationists have you been a part of? You know, you start off Baptist, you get a little Church of God, you get a little assembly, then you hit a little modern 1940, 1950 Foursquare, very young, or a little bit of Calvary, which is 1960-something. Very young denomination offshoots. Okay? We've been sojourning. You get a little bit here, get a little there. Your fruit, you look at it, the fruit's not right, man. It's green, it's weird, it tastes bad. What's wrong with my life? It's because we're sojourning and we're planting our root in a wrong stump, in a wrong field, in an unclean territory with contamination of GMO. I want to say that. Spiritual GMO, basically. Okay? So, let's go back now to Galatians. With that understanding that this pagan word, Gespel, is the spell of the German deity of prosperity, good. So now, as you go back to Galatians, for the people here, and then later on when I edit, I'm in a PowerPoint I created a few years ago. And he said, this name is discovered in the ancient Germanic language as good, or goda, or good, or God, or good, or God. It is dissimilar to the Gad of the tribe of Gad, but the pronunciation, when you see Gad, is good. It's almost like the G-O-D of prosperity. Further back into Indo-Germanic European roots, we find that it traces back to the word of good, G-H-O-D-H, which means union, even a sexual union. No wonder this meaning is still evident in the Dutch and German God. It is also not difficult to see it in the English got fly or got in about. So let's look at another one in the PowerPoint. Let's look at theos. Theos is basically a word of direction. It is it is a title. You say father, you got to say father, what's his name? That name. You say mother, grandfather, those are titles. But it's a title to a goddess or god or a God. I don't even know why they use those words God in German when they should say not goddess, it should be a female deity or a male deity, because in Greek they didn't use that German word yet, it didn't exist. Okay? Here's another one. International Standard Bible Encyclopedia. Good, pronounced good, is the deity of fortune, of good luck, possibly Hades. Writer in Isaiah. Now look at this in Isaiah. You go with me while I'm here. You go to Isaiah 65:11. Pronounces a curse against such as are lured away to idolatry. A warning here, according to Shein, is specifically against the Samaritans, whom there with their religion, the Jews of the Yehudi, held in special abhorrence. The charge would, however, apply just as well as the superstition, semi-pagan Jewish, because a lot of the Jewish synagogues got converted. I've been to a synagogue, ruins, outside of Jerusalem, where they actually have the goddess Gloria as Shekinah, the wife of Yahweh, in their artwork. Because they backslid so far, they're worshiping the Queen of Heaven. Shekinah, they say Shekinah glory, that's like two words. Gloria is a goddess. Shekinah is related in Greek to the goddess Gloria. They're one and the same. In the scriptures, in our Tanakh, Shekinah does not exist. The weight of his presence is Shekinah. It's the Kabbalist Jews that used to worship Baal, one of the 5 deities of Baal, was the wife. And they used to worship Shekinah as the wife of Yahweh. That's the way they said it. Okay, I'm just repeating what they said. Okay? Superstition, semi-pagan deities of the Yehudi, but you that forsake Yahweh, that forgot my Kodesh mountain, that prepare a table for who? Fortune. The deity Fortune, God. And that fill up mingled wine unto who? The deity Destiny. Destiny is a modern word for the deity Fate. Good fate. The deity Fate. She spins a wheel. She throws a string out of help to you. Then maybe you're going to get a good job and all that. Okay, so destiny is a part of a Latin word connected to the goddess Faith. Okay, now let's go to, this is an emergency broadcast by the time we get to the end. It's an emergency to come out from among them. To come out from the ethnic goys and become a goyim sojourner and be rooted into the stump and not planted into some tree branch of Judah which you cannot bear fruit branching or grafting into Judah. You got to graft into the stump and become, in the agriculture understanding of olive trees, you become a sucker, sucking all the nourishment from the bottom of the stump and learning more than even the branches that have been around for a long time on the top. Okay, that's the house of Israel. Okay, let's look at another one. If we continue from this particular encyclopedia, the Canaanite place, which means also a test of prevalence in a cult of Baal Gad or God, at the front foot of Hermon. Here's all the different verses. Okay, and indeed, the words of Leah in Genesis 30:11 may refer to not to good fortune or luck, but to the deity good fortune. Okay, the deity. Especially regarding as a patron deity, good or good fortune. Okay? And that is from Compare Kent, Student, Old Testament, similar beliefs held among the Greeks and Romans. Okay? So now, let me share with you. In the first covenant Tanakh, they put the word G-O-D and it's German. But it's a compromise. Since the Jews, or the Yehudi, when they came out of Babel, and they were working with worshiping, backsliding, and doing one of the 5 Baals, deities of Baal, one of the deities of Baal, of good fortune, was Baal Gad, or God. And when you spell G-O-D and you tell a Jew, say that for me, you know what you're going to say? God. The A has a phonetic sound we use as a woe. O. Okay? So now, they spelt it G-A-D or G-A-D back then, but they phonetically sounded it God, the deity of fortune, just like the Germanic language. Continued. The question has astronomical interest. Arabic tradition style of the planet Jupiter, the greater fortune Venus, the lesser fortune in Jewish tradition identified as good. With the planet Jupiter. So let me, for the people in here, I'm going to show on the screen a little bit better. We'll read it from there together. With the planet Jupiter, it has been conjectured that Mini is to be identified with the planet Venus. Now, what does Jupiter have in common with the United States Capitol Hill? The Capitol building is made up in the same exact square dimensions and the structure and the building of the temple of Jupiter in Rome. So no wonder they got it on the dollar bill. Hello? Somebody out there? Okay? So then you got God. Eaton Bible study. You got to realize the stuff I'm showing you on the screen eventually when I edit, and I'm showing the people here, these are Christian dictionaries and Christian information source. So I'm not using Hebrew. I'm not using any Hebraic root lexicon to show you. I'm showing you your own stuff. Eaton Bible Dictionary. G-O-D, Dutch, good. Dan, good. German, gut, the name of a divine being. It is rendering of the Hebrew El. So El, mighty one. So it's like rendering for El, but what they fail to tell you is that God, the word God, or good, or Gespel, is the name of a deity. It is not Theos, a title that you could point to a deity. You can say Theos Diana in that city. Or you go to Ephesus. Ephesus is the name of a deity. We read it all that. Go to the book of Ephesians. Ephesians is the name of a goddess. Okay? And I'm not going to go and give it online. That's another study. Okay? So they would have it on the cornerstone of the entrance of the city. And that's the principality that they christen. They christen them with oil or wine or whatever they prosper in the city. They anoint them outwardly, where we get the word Christian, or Christin, where we get to anoint ships. When they anoint ships, what do? They got some naked girl on the bow of the ship, and they get champagne or wine, and they break it over, and they get the most expensive, because it's a symbol of sacrifice of an offering. When you take wine, oil, and grain and burn it, and part of some of the feasts, and even the pagans do, as a sacrifice to their deity for the harvest to come. They get the best of their fruit. So when they Christian a ship, or they Christian the deity Ephesus, or the deity the goddess Diana, or any of those things, they would Christian them with oil in the outside. So we got this Greek word Christi with a K. We got the Latin word Christos, okay, with CH, and which is related to the word anointed or anointing, and it doesn't mean Mashiach, it doesn't mean Messiah. They have wiped out the place marks when originally it had in the original Hellenic the word for Mashiach. They wiped it out and they took the place marks out and they've changed things so it makes it look like Christi, the Christening a deity. Okay? So now, as we continue to see here, this pagan word on the dollar bill. This is Wikipedia Encyclopedia. The English word God continues. The Old English God, Goodish, Gothic, good. In modern Scandinavian, G-O-D. In Dutch, in G-O-T-T. In modern German, and is thought to derive from Proto-Germanic Gudan. Okay? So, I'm showing you these different things as early as 19th century. People try to argue it in the absolute etymologies of Wikipedia. They show you the details, how it is a German name of a German deity. This thing I want to read to you and show you for the audience here that are live for Shabbat. And then I'm gonna. There's so much information. You got to be like, how should I say? Bump your head, dumb and dumber, that you can't go on the internet and look up the word G-O-D or G-O-D-D or G-O-T-T of the Germanic. Who it is? It's not a title. It is a deity. And it says in the Torah, in the Word, not to mention the name of other mighty ones. The only reason I do it here, I'm here to demonstrate and destroy it. Just like Eliyahu, when he fought against the prophets of Baal, he says, bring me today all the prophets of Baal. He said Baal, but he's doing it to tell them, I want you to know who I'm talking about. You bring all your 5 deities, all your 5 worshipers, because there was 5 particular names, to the place, because we're going to go to blows and see who answers by fire. Okay? So now, and then it goes on and says, in 19th century scholarship, there were a number of alternative etymologies suggest Morgan Peter, Kavanaugh, in the original origin of language and myths, claim that the word God was taken from the Buddha's patriarchal name Gautama. John Campbell connected further themes. I have showed elsewhere that the English word God is a German Gut, Persian Goda, and the Hindustani Kuda are all derived from the same root at which appears the Celtic Adion, Guy, Dion, and the German Odin, and Wooden, where you get Wednesday, or Khotan, and the Indian Buddha was Gautama. So you see the German there, Got, G-O-T, and the Reverend Henry Sadling, D.D. Henry L. Miser, forgive me if I'm misplacing their ancestors' names, in his book, Mercurius, or the Word Maker, also connected Lombard Godan to Gautama, Buddha. And the connection of Godayan and the Wittan, but not with God, is due to Jacob Grimm. So here's some etymologists arguing with each other and saying where it comes from, but it shows how it's spreaded through all over the world. It's a fortune deity of good fortune, and we see today people worshiping these deities in the congregations for prosperity and money. Okay? So, let's see where we go next. Let's go to, start at verse 3. And unmerited favor to you and shalom from Elohim, the Father of our Yeshua Mashiach, who gave himself for our sins, and he might deliver us, verse 4, from the present evil age, according to the will of Elohim and Father Abba, to whom be honor and esteem forever and ever. Amen. Verse 6. I marvel that you are turning away. Now I'm going to read it correct. I marvel that you are turning away so soon from him who called you in the favor of Mashiach. Oh, they changed it to Christi? And they put the goddess grace there. So, who's got the other good news now? Who's preaching the other good news? They're preaching a different language. To a different Besorah good news. Verse 7. Which is not another, but there are some who trouble you and want to pervert the good news or Besorah of Mashiach. But even if we, or a messenger from Shamayim, preach any other Besorah to you than what we have preached to you, let him be accursed. Now listen carefully. They even threw the word heaven. Heaven is a German word for a place in the clouds. It doesn't go past the arch, where Odin dwells. The same connection to the deity of prosperity, good. Okay? It's a different address. If we had a messenger here and you say, I want to go to heaven, you say, dude, I don't deliver to heaven. I only go to Shamayim. You know what I mean? That's a different principality, location, mid before the arch. Okay? So, and they throw in these different words, and we call it today replacement theos. Now, let me explain replacement theology. Think about it. I was sitting in Bible school, and they're saying, we're going to teach you how the Catholics and other denominations have replacement theology. And I'm sitting here, replace the theos, replace the gods, replace the titles. Whoa! They're going to teach me how to replace the titles. Replacement theology. Okay? The whole understanding of Catholicism is that he took the good news and created an artificial reprint of a good report and repackaged it and gave even the new name completely to the Savior. Okay? Now, one example would be in Luke 4:18. Let's go to that quickly because of time. Okay? In Lucas chapter 4, verse 18. This one I used to preach. This is a quotation. But we're going to start in verse 16. And it says written, and he came to Nazareth, where he has been brought up. And according to his practice, he went into the synagogue on the Shabbat day and stood up to read. And the scroll of the Navi, Yeshayahu, was handed to him. And having unrolled the scroll, he went right to the place where it was written. He's going to quote now Isaiah, Yeshayahu 61:1. And the Ruach of Yahuwah is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring, they say gospel, can be. That German word did not exist in the days of Yeshayahu. Okay, it's a completely different Greek word and a completely different Hebrew word. But they put it, they pancaked it in Yeshayahu 61:1, and they pancaked it right here in verse 18. To the poor, he has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim release to the captives, recover the sight to the blind, and send away them that are crushed ones to be really. Now, I'm going to go do something here. I got plenty more dictionaries in this PowerPoint, but I'm going to give you, you got to do homework. Okay? And I'm going to go to, and show you. I want to show you something that is a mystery or understanding of the translations, that once you see it, it would completely change your way of thinking. And if you are there by the screen, Ustream, watching live, bear with me, and go to if you got an e-sword, you can go to this, and you can see it yourself. And this is the same way over 300 times for the Ruach of Yahuwah, and 200 times for the Ruach of Elohim, or Elohim. It says here, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me. Whenever you see this quotation, you'll find in the original Tanakh, it would say, you got to look at it. What do you see? The is a filler word. It does not have a Greek. Of the, it does not have, there's no filler word. There's no Greek. It's a filler word. All you see is Ruach Yahuwah. That's all you see. Ruach Yahuwah. The Ruach of Yahuwah. I was preaching this sermon a few years ago. My wife started writing a song, and it is called the Ruach Kadosh, Anointing. She's a beautiful song she sings about the Ruach of Yahuwah. the Ruach HaKadosh. Okay? So this was the statement. Ruach Yahuwah upon me. Because anointed. It's the same pancake word 5540 where they try to say Christi. Okay? Supposed to be anointed. Anointed me to preach is not in the original Hellenic. The word Ugilion, they put gospel, 2097. It's supposed to be a preacher of the good news. This was quoted in the book of Isaiah. Isaiah Yeshayahu literally called himself a preacher of the Besorah, a preacher of good tidings, a preacher of good. Why? He was Nabiim, they say prophesying, of the Messiah preaching the good news, the good tidings. You got that? So he was prophesying the Messiah is going to do what I'm doing. I am prophesying the good news, the good tidings, because the Messiah is going to come and he's going to deliver the good tidings. He's going to deliver the good news. The Besorah, he's going to deliver it. So you can see here. Now to throw you a little cookie, look at this. The goddess Liberty. They put this pancake pagan deity, Libertarius, like the statue, the biggest idol in the world is the Statue of Liberty. Sits on an 11-pointed star of magic. You Google on top, you see the crescent moon and the 5-pointed star and other pagan stuff in the grass, and it's shaped like a womb, because when you enter into New York, you're entering the birthing of the certificate of birthing of the womb of this city or this country. Okay? So Libertarius, the clean Greek word is aphesis, which means a pardon, freedom, forgiveness, remission. So they took a clean Hellenic Greek word and they pancaked this other goddess on top of it, so he'll get you to say those words. They say liberty. The goddess liberty. I walked into a Messianic congregation in Texas because I would go to them, and the father, Avinu, our father, would tell me, go in these places now. And I would get up, get dressed, and go. And I would sit there, and he says, there's one coming out here. There's one searching, but he don't know where to go. There's one searching, he don't know where to go. Just like when we were from Christian to Messianics. Searching and didn't know where to go. Trying to find the best place to fit in. Knowing we didn't fit in. And then I would walk up to him and say, Shalom Aleikum, Shpoka. They said, Shalom, man. He said, you come here? No, I don't know why. The father just told me to show up. And the father will have me show up to tell them, here's some flyers, here's some information, go online. We don't have a place, but we're online. Okay? So they got us, in this congregation, they start singing a mimic Christian song called King of Glory. In the whole song, J-Man's not in the whole song. And they're singing to King, K-Ing, the God Ing of Gloria. So through the whole song, they're singing in Gloria, in Gloria. They're singing this pagan deity through the whole song, standing up and worshiping and going like that. So I backed my hand up and I said, I bind the principality of the demonic spirit of this spirit of Ing and this goddess Gloria. And all of a sudden I was praying with my eyes open, and some people looking around, what is this dude doing? He's binding the words we prayed to. See? And the people that were singing with their back to me went. They didn't feel the Spirit no more. Because I took authority and I bound the spiritu. Because the word spirit is Latin. Has no relation to pneuma or pneuma in the Greek. Has no relation to ruha of Yahuwah. It is a spiritu. Only connected, the word spirit is only connected to a human, dead or alive, a demon, or a fallen messenger. That's where the word in Latin comes from. But when we're dealing with the Ruha, the breath of the Father, it is a completely different address different location, different everything. It is the Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah, like we're seeing here. Now, I want you to do homework and go to Isaiah 61, 1 through 3, and see how it is in the Hebraic. They added the goddess liberty. They added the goddess. They put the word Gospel, or some translations say good news or good tidings, but it's a dua. I can't remember exactly. It's 4 letters in Hebrew, and it's for the word speaker or preacher of the good news or good tidings. Okay? Glad tidings is King James. It doesn't exist in the Hebraic or Hellenic. It is good news or good tidings in the original language. Okay? So now, with this understanding that we just demonstrated and share with you, when I was in Israel, and I'm living there. If you go there and you go into tourism, you're all messed up. You're going to get a package according to your denomination. You go Foursquare, you're going to get Foursquare. If you're going to go Baptist, you're going to go, whatever you're going to get the package deal for that denomination. They're going to hold on to your passport, and they're going to take you different places and give it to you back and forth different times to control you. Instead of you just buying a cheap ticket, go down there, get a hostel for a Messianic, hang out with some regs in the area, and learn the city and walk freely. Because Americans are welcome. You just walk around. You can drive for 6 months on your own driver's license, as long as it's still good. You can get cars. You can rent a car there for $9 a day. You can rent a car, but the insurance is $65 if you don't know the loopholes. Okay, so they don't get you on the rental; they'll get you on insurance if you don't know the loophole of how to get citizen insurance. So, I go to the Catholic court. They call it the Christian court. That's what they call it. Okay? In our thinking, we thought Christians were not Catholics and Catholics are not Christian. But if you study history, even in the Christian material encyclopedia, the word Christianity is a morph word from Christian, which is another morph word from Christi, meaning anointed. Okay? So those are morph added words. American is a morph word from the land America. Q-U-E, America. Okay? So now, when you go to Israel and you go to the Catholic court, they're called the Christian court. Christians are Catholics, Catholics are Christians. Period. When you go to Jerusalem. If a Jew walks up to you and tour says, hey, are you Yehudi? And you don't know what they're saying, they say, no, I'm Christian. Oh, you belong over there, the Catholic court. Because to a Jew, they raise them, or Yehudi, they raise them to think in school that all Christianity are the harlot daughter's children from Catholicism of Constantine of 326, which is true. Okay, they're all offshoots with Catholic parishes that we nickname or change to denomination. Now, as we come to a close a little bit of this special broadcast today, who is the God of this world? Who's the mighty one? Who's the good? In 2 Corinthians 11:4, Satan comes as an angel of light to disguise himself and fool people as a good person. In 2 Corinthians 4:4, he is the God of this world, or this age. He is the mighty one. It says it. The emissary, the ambassador. That's another clean word of shiliach instead of apostolico. So, when you're in Israel, you start to find out these truths, and you have to question yourself of your belief system, of what you've been taught, and you got to flush some things out of your life. You got to do some body cleansing, spiritual body cleansing like juicing, to clean your colon out, to clean all that stuff. And they get locked in your bowels, get locked in your stomach, all that GMO, all that garbage got to be flushed out of you, and you got to get delivered and set free from it. Okay? Manifest destiny. In the ancient pictures, when I went to school, public school, they would show the goddess Gloria like this, flowing through the lands of America with one breast sticking out. Okay? And Gloria brings peace back. In other words, I'm going to take your land, I'm going to let you live in it, but you're going to get taxed to stay. That's what the word peace means. It's pax, P-A-X in Latin, P-A-C in French. And the goddess Gloria goes to conquering and destroying, and the ancient artifact pictures of manifest destiny. If you were to type it up on Google, you'll see a picture, all the Native Americans trying to fight them and going that way, and the trains, the iron horse, wagons, and all the settlers killing him on their way, and they call it the age of enlightenment and illumination. Manifest destiny. Manifest destiny was changed in 1905 to the word democracy, which they're doing throughout the Middle East, taking away the sovereignty of Middle Eastern countries and creating democracy or manifest destiny. Now, we're going to go to and close with this in Revelation 17:1. I'm going to skip some stuff because of time, and let's go to Hazon, chapter 17. Now remember, Roman Apostolic Catholic Church, Circe, a different good news. Circe is a place, a round building with columns where naked women have their pleasure with men. Okay, that's what Circe is. That's the word church. Under the word is Iglesia, a clean Greek word, Ecclesia. Okay? They call themselves the Roman Apostolic Catholic Church or Church. You got to realize the word apostolico or apostolic is a Latin word created by the Roman Catholic Church. It is their logo. Okay? It's not Greek Orthodox. That's in Israel and in Greece and also in Constantinople and all those other locations of those areas. Those are Greek Orthodox Catholics, all right, or Celtic in Africa. So now, you have the word apostolico, a Latin word, but it doesn't mean what you think. Just like the word peace. It means completely something different. It means that the Pope assigns 120 of the Holy See, people selected from bishops and cardinals, and those become apostles. There's 12 apostles under the Roman Catholic Church. In 1800, the English Church decided to call the Church of England of Apostolic, because they appointed 12 apostles with 120 angelicos, spies, to make sure their parishes stay in line to their belief system. You know what I mean? So, the whole word is a symbol word of Latin, the codic language, okay, to know what it really means. There are 12 Holy Sees appointed. They call them apostles. They were never called that in the days of the Mashiach or after. They were called Shiliach. They're called messengers of the Tov news. They're called ambassadors from Tanakh into, even Shaul said in Ephesians and Corinthians, am I an ambassador of the Mashiach? He says it out of his own mouth. They actually messed up and didn't white out and put in the word apostolico. Now let's finish up with Revelation 17:1. And it says here, and one of the 7 messengers who had the 7 bowls came and spoke with me, saying to me, come, I shall show you the judgment of the great whore sitting in many waters. A great whore sitting on many waters, with whom the sovereigns of the earth committed whoredom, and inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her whoring. And he carried me away in the Ruha, in the wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, covered with many and blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was dressed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, holding in her hand a golden cup filled with abominations and filthiness of her whoring. I don't have my flyer posted. I'll put it in later on so I can post the PowerPoint. If you look up the word Circe in the Decata Webster Dictionary, it shows a picture of Circe, a female goddess drinking wine, giving guys wine and sailors, and they turn into pigs under her spell. She controls them. Okay? And here we know who does this type of spirit. Okay? With the wine of abominations. And it says here in verse 5. And upon her forehead name written, the secret Babel, the great, The mother of the whores. You hear that? The mother of harlots. She's a mother of harlots. So in other words, there's a whole bunch of girls laying around. Okay? Of the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the set apart ones, or the Kodeshim, and with the blood of the witness of Yahushua. And having seen her, I marveled greatly. Marvel. He said, oh, dude, what is this happening in the future? Now I'm closing with this story. I was invited to go to Las Vegas and minister to some people the name on a PowerPoint and a screen. One of the brothers that visited on the second day was an Afro-American brother that was just about ready to finish in 2 weeks and get his ordination in the Foursquare to be a particular accountant, and all these degrees he was working on for 2 years to be a pastor of the Foursquare denomination. Okay? Once he gets passed, he can go to the headquarters, which I was a part of these people. I know how the superintendents and how it works. He can go to this billboard and look a job shop and find congregations of people retiring or people that died, and they're looking for an ordained official cookie dough stamp Foursquare guy to fit him in that spot. Then he would move like a job. He won't pray. He would pray a little bit maybe, but he finds the oh, it's Hawaii, they're paying double, they got 1,000 people, I want to go there. You know what I mean? They usually do that kind of stuff. Because I was a part of the assembly. I knew how it worked. I knew the system. Okay? So he's sitting in front of me, and I'm sharing. And there was other people in the audience, and he was sitting to the right. And the Ruach of Yahuwah came upon me. I looked him in the eye, and I said, I have a word for you, my brother, from Yahuwah. And he looks at me like, okay. He's used to saying, I can't stand when Christians do that. Thus says the Lord, like Yahuwah speaks King Imus. This 1700 watered down German, watered down Latin, French, / everything language, okay? And so I said, I got a word for you from Yahuwah, brother. And he says, okay. And the anointing came strong upon me, and I said, behold, I see a young man. And this young man was a little boy growing in a house that was 2-story Victorian house. I see it on a hill. I see cars parked. I see a lot of women in the house. Lots of women. But I don't see men. But once in a while, a whole bunch of men would come into the house, and the boy was starting to go to school. As the boy started to go to school, at school, the teacher says, it's time for you to write a paragraph about your father, your dad, what he does for a living. You like your dad's work? Have you ever been to a job? What he does? And children will write, like my dad's a fireman, my dad is this, my dad is that, my dad is a mechanic, my dad is that, right? So he comes home and goes home to his mom. His mom is at the kitchen cooking. There's other women sitting down the table. It was early in the morning. Mom, I got to do this at school. It's my homework. He says, who's my dad? And as soon as he says, who's my dad? Behold, the boy says, the mother said, the women sitting around the mother that was in the kitchen washing dishes or cooking, the girls said, oh, honey, I knew this was coming, baby. And they walked out the door. Word for word, that's what I told them. And then I said, then the mother bowed down and said, and thought with deep thought, and said, John is your dad, but he's married to somebody else. He comes every other week. He's the one that gives you a toy and gives me a flower every other week. He said, John's my dad? What does he do for a living? She said, well, he's a mechanic. He does this. He does that. And you mean I got other brothers? And my dad's married to another woman? And blah, blah. He said, yeah, but he's a mechanic. And he's down there in this corner. And blah, blah, blah. Behold, the boy grows up. The boy grows up and becomes a young teenager, older teenager. He goes specifically to the mechanic shop. He finds John. He says, John, you know who I am? No. He says, I'm so-and-so. I'm so-and-so's son at that house you used to visit. You stopped coming 4 or 5 years, 6 years ago, but I'm that boy. He says, okay, how can I help you? He says, you're my dad. He says, no, son. No, I'm your mama's best trick. So she gave you a trick name? You see, the Catholic Church made a trick name, and they called him Jesus. It was the best one to pull out of the harlot's house. She's the mother harlot. She's the mother of harlots, producing offspring, even from the Reformationists to the denominations of the United States, Canada, throughout the world. She's producing offspring with a trick name. And then the story continues. The man says, he jumps up and he says, I'm that boy. I'm that boy. It fell on his face. He says, I've been worshiping a trick name from the mother harlots. Because I was that boy in that house full of women. You see, that's all that's happened. They took the Besorah, the good news, the good tidings. They changed the words and titles. And they changed everything. And then they repackaged it and redelivered it with a trick name. Instead of Yahushua, Yah's kinsman, redeemer, salvation to all of us. Instead of giving the proper name, it would direct us to a iglesia, the called out ones, or a synagogue of teaching of Hebraic roots. So I share with you today, and I close today letting you know, do your homework, study to show yourself approved, a workman rightly dividing the word of truth, emna or emunah, the study, not to have the magic show of the goddess faith, F-I-I-T-H, another one with a magic wand, but to study everything I share with you. The truth is this: Christians are Catholics because they started with Constantine in 326 when he made that proclamation throughout the known world. So I close this with you, and I love you. Don't get mad at me. Just go ahead and research. Then blog me after you research. Because I've had people blog me and then they apologize a week later. You know what I mean? For they found out the truth. So, may Yahuwah baruch you. May Yahuwah keep you. May His face shine upon you. May He baruch the bread you're going to break today for Shabbat. May He baruch your children. May He baruch your cattle. May He keep all the sickness and diseases and the plagues of the water, the food, and of the air away from you as you grow up in the Shem of Yahuwah, Yahushua, Mashiach. Amen and Amen. We love you here at Eagles Haven and EliyahuChannel.com. Amen.